Coravin now has a guide, like the Michelin guide, but not. But it's a guide to where restaurants serve premium wines by the glass using, well, a Coravin. And Winston Churchill is the GOAT. I will explain why. And one of the best TV shows about wine gets a second season. All that and more on this week's episode of This Week Uncorked. Well, hello and welcome to episode 66 of This Week Uncorked for Monday, October 20th, 2025. I'm Brett Martin from Corkage Journey. If you're not familiar, we're your number one source for Corkage fees, as well as winery reviews, wine reviews, restaurant reviews, regional wine guides, and much, much more. With that, let's get right on to this week's wine news. So the drinks business has an entire article by Eloise Felden talking about ordering high-end wine by the glasses. Again, sometimes I read these articles and I don't necessarily agree with if you ordered a glass of wine by the glass, you're a cheapskate. It's kind of got those things in there. We'll talk about that. But basically, there was a whole event where they launched a Coravin guide to restaurants. Jancis Robinson was there. You know, she's a master of wine as well. Greg Lambrecht, the Coravin founder, was there. Javier Rousset, master sommelier, discussed the whole preservation technology. I will tell you, these things work. They are amazing. Be sure, though, you want to gas it. Just gas it a couple times ahead of time before you put the needle in. Otherwise, you might get a little oxygen in there. Got that tip from Peter Neptune, Master Somm. He was one of the guys that could help try the entire thing out. Anyway, the event was done in London, and it was the big launch of the guide. The guide's limited right now. It's basically in Los Angeles and a few other cities. But anyway, let's just get right to the article, shall we? Where in the old days it seemed cheapskate, now the perception has shifted, and ordering by the glass is more closely associated with exploring. Indeed, in a new independent survey of 1,030 consumers in the UK and Australia, Coravin found that half of all respondents are ordering more wine by the glass than they were 2 years ago. More than half the respondents said they spend between 10 and 15 pounds on a glass of wine, and over a third said they would have spent 16 to 20 pounds on a single glass. A fifth say they would be willing to stretch and pay even higher at 20 pounds a glass. Coravin's new guide spotlights the venues which are pioneering more extensive by-the-glass menus. The Coravin guide will initially cover London, Sydney, Melbourne, Milan, the Netherlands, the whole darn country there, California, the whole state, with additional cities being included in the coming months. Searchable by region, occasion, wine style, all qualifying venues are able to apply to feature in the guide regardless of whether they use a Coravin system or not, just if they're serving high-quality wines by the glass. This goes back to the gentleman we interviewed. His name is John Steach, who made this nice attachment. You know, the attachment for restaurants that they could just keep pumping it out. They didn't have to keep changing out the little Coravin capsules all the time. I go to a lot of restaurants that are just serving really, really big wines by the glass, $30, $40, $50. I mean, it can get up there when you're pouring these ultra premium wines. It's better for the restaurants because the markups on those are more than if you just bought the bottle, and the bottle's already marked up 3x as it is. So, and we got the link to the Coravin guide in the show notes here. Like I said, just those areas. First thing I got it, I didn't kind of read the whole thing. And I'm, Las Vegas. No, nothing. Because, one day. Anyway, and moving on with a positive story that involves climate change. Yes, Food and Wine, Liz Provencher announces that Night Timber's 2016 Blanc de Blanc Magnum became the first ever non-champagne to win the Champion Sparkling Wine at the 2025 International Wine Challenge. That's the IWC. The English sparkling wine scored 97 points and was praised by the judges for acidity, citrus, chamomile notes, chalky finish, marking a milestone in the recognition for English bubbly. We've been talking about this a lot. Things have shifted. The climate in Great Britain is very, very, very similar to what it was in Champagne 30 years ago, and now it's moving up, and they are just, you've got those chalky soils as well. So many similarities. Anyway, they're making some killer wines. From the article, the bottle received 97 points from the IWC judges after an anonymous tasting of more than 1,000 wines. Judges described the traditional method sparkling wine as a time capsule of wine with mouthwatering acidity, citrus zest, chamomile, and a chalky finish. 100% Chardonnay, only 12% alcohol by volume. That's what I'm talking about. Residual sugar, less than 10 grams, so pretty dry. Acidity was 7.8. It's over in West Sussex in Hampshire. Congratulations to Night Timber. They deserve it. And, we're starting to see this more and more. And it's tough. It's tough to be a winemaker in France with all of the issues that are going on. So, hopefully things turn around. We've discussed this many times before. And moving on with the news, the drinks business, Chernish, uncorks the remarkable historical tidbit. Winston Churchill managed to legally drink in the U.S. during Prohibition because he got a doctor's note that said he needed to have alcohol. After a 1932 car accident in New York, Churchill sought to get the note when he was visiting the United States. The story kind of goes through how they got through the loopholes, things about prescription whiskey, which was a thing at the time. This was evidently very, very big during that decade of Prohibition. And alcohol could be sold for medicinal and religious use under the Volstead Act. A lot of winemakers stayed in business by making sacramental wine. That's how they kind of kept they didn't have to rip out their crops. They could grow it because they were growing sacramental wine for the church. Those two kind of things kept at least some people in business. But first of all, let's look at this doctor's note now. This is absolutely hysterical. I love in pencil, keep on hand, January 26th, 1932. This is to certify that the post-accident convalescence of the Honorable Winston S. Churchill necessitates the use of alcoholic spirits, especially at mealtimes. The quantity is naturally indefinite. But the minimum requirements would be 250 cubic centimeters. I had to look that up. The minimum requirements were 8.4 ounces. Now, if he's drinking whiskey, man, but it was Winston Churchill. So anyway, there's your minimum requirement. So Otto C. Pickhart, MD. Wish you were my doctor back in the day. If I was back there, that's the guy you wanted as your doctor. How about that? All right. And moving right along. Crazy story. I had no idea, but if you ever saw Drops of God on Apple TV, if you're a wine lover, it's kind of like, you gotta see, even if you're not. So many people I know watch it go, wow, that was a great show about wine, Brett. I know you're into wine. Did you think it was a good show? And I'm like, yeah, I thought it was a great show. But anyway, they're dropping season 2. It's going to premiere on Wednesday, 21st, starring the same cast. It's going to be an 8-episode season. It's going to end on March 11th. Here's the announcement directly from Apple TV. In season 2 of Drops of God, Camille and Issei are thrust into their most perilous challenge yet, to uncover the origin of the world's greatest wine, a mystery so profound that even their legendary father, Alexandre Leger, could not solve it. What begins as a pursuit of legacy becomes a search for truth that spans continents and centuries, unearthing forgotten histories, hidden rivalries, and secrets buried for generations. Oh my! The search pushes them to the edges of the world and to the darkest corners of themselves. Camille and Issei must decide how much they are willing to sacrifice. The answer could shatter their bond as siblings or destroy them both. Man, I tell you what, someone's a drama major who wrote that press release. That's got some serious punch to it, right? Anyway, I've already figured it out. They're trying to find the world's greatest wine. Camus? Okay. Moving on, let's go to the wine and winery of the week. Alrighty, with wine and winery of the week. This is not it. This is actually a lovely Bellante over here behind the Poggio Amorelli. I'll pull it up here. There it is. It's a lovely Bellante. Paso Robles, but they're based in Orange County. He goes up there, harvests, fixes grapes, makes them in a custom crush facility. Guy makes great Syrahs. Chuck, shout out. Anyway, Let's go back to this now. Poggio Amorelli. This is in Tuscany in the Chianti region. Man, beautiful, just beautiful. You can just looking at these pictures, everything that they do here is just really top notch. And that's not the case oftentimes, when you're bopping around some of these wineries, but sits on top of a beautiful hill. They do a lunch serving. They do a nice little pairing. You've got charcuterie that they're putting out. The tour is nice. The owner's there. Everyone just takes amazing care of you. They do a beautiful olive oil and they do a balsamic. They make some great stuff there. So you're doing a bunch of tastings of that as well, mixed in with the wine tastings. Price range is like $40 to $80. As you could see, you can have in-store seating, beautiful outdoor seating if the weather's right. Just stunning. Well done. Well done. So if you are in Tuscany, in Chianti in particular, you should head over and check out the Poggio Amorelli. And for wine, we're going to go to China. And this is the Aoyong Shangri-La 2014. So we went on a cruise of the Mediterranean this summer. And I don't know, the cruise evidently was set up for Chinese tourists. And it had been. And so when we were on it, it wasn't. But I guess it had just finished a big run. And because of that, they just had a ton of Chinese wine on board. And they were trying to get rid of it, because no one would order it because, one, super expensive, and two, it's Chinese wine and you have to try it. So we're like, well, yes, we must try it. We became friends with the Somm there. So it's $379 US if you want to buy it. We did not pay that. They were like, we got all this wine. We're going to discount it 50%, our costs. We're going to let you have it for $100 and something or something like that. So we're like, sure, we got to try it. Never had a wine from China, always wanted to. We ended up having a couple, actually. Yao Ming makes a wine that's actually really good, but that's not from China. It's here, I think, anyway. But this is the Aoyong Shangri-La High Mountain Cabernet, supposedly. 90 points. That's all we could give it. The four of us kind of tasted through it. Some of us were in the 87s, maybe a 91, 92, kind of blended out at like a 90-point average score. It just is good, just kind of misses. There's not a lot of depth. Tannins aren't that well integrated. You just kind of went, eh. Got potential, though. I mean, a 90-point wine from China, that's pretty amazing in and of itself. And I know they're really stepping up their game and making better wines. While this one was good, I mean, if it was like $50 a bottle, I'd say, hey, you know what? You got to try this thing out. It's interesting wine, but it's got a little ways to go to get above that. So anyway, let's move on to our restaurant and Corkage of the week. Another Poggio. I think it means hill. Poggio Rosso, San Felice Estate in Tuscany. This is kind of cool. This harkens back to last week's conversation about the rise of the hotel winery. Well, this has been around a long time. Beautiful hotel, beautiful winery, spa. We took advantage of all of them. I think I talked about it last week. Well, the restaurant is a Michelin star restaurant. Chef Juan Quintero, South American flavors in a Tuscan presentation. The tasting menu is ridiculous. Just beautiful. And, we talked about how Michelin star restaurants oftentimes in Europe don't live up to what the standards you have here in the U.S. Not the case here at Poggio Rosso. Just look at the pictures. Just fantastic service, fantastic presentation, fantastic food. Oh my goodness. Every single thing was just delightful. That's a little chocolate woman there. I don't know why, but that's what that thing was at the end. Anyway, again, you're in Tuscany. You just went to Poggio Amorelli. Then you're going to go to Poggio Rosso and check it out. But, next time we would go there, we would probably stay at San Felice Estate. Just that good. You just get it just that good. So anyway, that is going to wrap up another episode of This Week Uncorked. If you don't know, we would love it if you would subscribe to us on our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Please follow us on your favorite social media applications and let us know if you have any questions or anything you'd like to cover. We would love to see that. And also right down below here, we have an interview with Remy Jean from Chateau Le Neuf in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, and check it out. All right, everybody, with that, until next week, cheers.